I'm actually gonna have to get off. So I have another intro too. So I'm more co-host, so if anyone has any questions, they can ask me. Okay, so it will still keep going, but I had to leave to go call.
Hey, Aaron, they're not doing that session. Thank you for getting this started. I'm going to go ahead and start the recording, and I will let Jennifer, you take it away. You can introduce yourself.
Okay. My name is Jennifer Prawl, and actually I just got remarried. So if you try to find me in a couple months, it's going to be a new name. So I want to make sure I get started on time because Keyshawn's presentation is awesome. And I always screw up the sharing part. You have to give me a minute. Whoop. All right, here we go. So my takeaway from this this ALP experience, something I was wanting to focus on all year long has been reading culture in our school. So I used the combination of my own personal goals with the things that I learned in ALP and kind of put this little activity together. So we called it a reader's journey. We focused on independent reading with a freshman class. There we go. If you ever want to find me, I'm widely open to people contacting me if you have questions or ideas or anything like that. I'm at Tates Creek High School. Again, my name's about to change in a couple months, but if you remember Tates Creek, you'll know how to get me. So going into this project, this is kind of why we wanted to focus on independent reading. First of all, our testing data, probably like a lot of kids around the state, we've got about 30% of our kids reading at a proficient level, which of course means close to 70 or below proficient. Part of that we think has to do with the kind of the Chromebook effect is what I've called it, because even before COVID hit, Chromebooks were all the rage. As a media specialist, I was heavily involved in the technology aspects of all of that. And we were all about teaching all the new tech trends. And I think that with COVID following right behind it, we really just in general have gotten away from the concept of independent reading. And we know that to get better at reading, you have to read. So, and then again, one of my objectives for this year was kind of building reading culture in our school in general. So my formal objective for this project was to try to improve student attitudes through independent reading or toward independent reading. So I worked with a 9th grade English teacher, Miss Suttles. She and I get along fabulously well. She is the creative mind. I'm more of the technical mind. So we work really well together. And sort of her role in this project, we planned together this giant kind of kickoff. And then after that, a lot of it happened through her classroom, maintaining the daily independent reading structure. I focused on matching kids to books as best I could and giving kids access to books the best I could, both digitally and in the library. We put together some surveys and periodical surveys and kind of look through those results. See, I mess this up all the time. So the overall plan is that we would co-teach like a big kickoff. We planned we are on block schedules. We planned 3 to 4 days together to do an introduction in the classroom and a few of the activities that I'm getting ready to show you. And the idea was after this kickoff, the kids would create personal reading goals. So getting to know themselves as a reader, they focus on something they want to improve with their own reading. They get to read whatever they want. Some kids are already great readers. Some kids can't even find a book they like we were everywhere. So we wanted them to come up with their own personal goal, give them some ownership, match their goal with what we ended up calling a tracking tool, just some way to track their own progress, give them independent reading time in class, give them time to track progress, and then we would check in with them kind of on a periodic basis and have them do some reflection activities just to see for themselves if they were meeting their goal. So this is our introduction day. I went to Miss Suttle's classes. We did this little slide presentation. What does it mean to be a reader? What are some goals you could do? Why is reading important in the first place? And then a very low pressure activity. I actually brought in every picture book I owned from the library and they laughed at us at first and thought we were idiots, but we're like, this is a day to reconnect with that little tiny kindergartner sitting on the reading rug, because who didn't love that as a kid, right? And so we wanted to reconnect with that, and they laughed at us at first, but they really, really enjoyed just low pressure, going through picture books, reading out loud to each other, and it was a really good start to the day or to the unit. So next, once we kind of described to them what we were going to do, we did a couple little reading identity type activities. We started with a book tasting because I told them, you know, it's post-COVID. I said, some of you guys haven't been in a library probably in 2 to 3 years. So let's review how to even find a book. How do you know that a book is something that you're going to like? So we literally practiced step by step how to look at a book again, how to think about if it might be something you want to do. And you can see the little recording sheet we did with them that it's all personal opinion. This book may not be for you, and that's decisions we want you to make and something you may give a try later. So we're trying to focus on them thinking about themselves as readers before we even set goals. And so along with that, this is kind of on the same day. So this was the first 30 minutes or so of class, just kind of let them explore and be in the library this time, kind of get a feel for the space. This was Miss Suttle's idea. We kind of combine these together, that their assignment for the rest of that day, before they've even touched a book or checked out a book, is to again kind of focus on their own personal reading identity. And she had them do this activity called Me as a Reader book covers. And they had to kind of find images and put it together with a color theme that expressed mood, and then talk about themselves a little bit as a reader and kind of what they want to accomplish this year. I thought this is a really great activity. And you can see reading is boring, and then the other one's like reading is my whole life, and then we have everything in between. So, and as long as they were honest about it, that's all we wanted. So we did the introduction day, we did the kind of reader identity day, and then we did goal setting day. So this again was another whole day in the library. They came in with their Chromebooks, they developed their own personal reading goals. They chose a tracking tool and then this little menu option. All of these little ideas came from the literacy strategies book we got in ALP. It was a lot of it was chapter 2, if you want to go look at it. But again, like some of those goal options, some kids were just trying to find a book they like. Some kids were telling us, I haven't finished a book in 3 years. I just want to be able to finish a book this year. Like we have other kids that read all the time, said, but I want to branch out and do different genres maybe, or try something new I haven't done before. Or some of them wanted to work on being able to understand what they're reading, work on comprehension. They are actually after self-reflecting, they were very honest with us about what they needed. And then we worked on we split up the group while they were in the library working on stuff, and Suttles and I talked to them one-on-one for a few minutes about their goals and tried to help them work out what a tracking tool could be for them and that sort of thing. And then they finally, after 3 days, got to check out books, and they were so excited. And then then the next day in her class, it's when they started reading. So here, she had to set expectations. These 9th graders after COVID were more like 7th graders. Anybody that's in a classroom right now understands what that looked like. That we were just kind of all behind socially and emotionally. So she set down very clear rules. This is what being on task looks like. This is what's expected of you. And then again, like at that point, it was just kind of a daily structure, moving that train along, really working on behaviors a lot at first, trying to get that going. And then in October, we kind of talked to each other, Miss Suttles and I. We did a reflection checkpoint is what we called them with the kids, just a very simple Google survey about kind of what goal they've been working on, what tracking tool they might want to use. And one thing we noticed between August and October is that these kids trying to track goals on the Chromebook was not working. So ninth graders, again, acting more like middle schoolers at this point. She said, we need something tangible. Like the goal tracking on the computer is not working. So we created, at this point in October, these paper bookmarks. So I created color-coded tracking tools on paper and combined them with that idea she always went through with the kids and did a stamp as a participation sheet. While during independent reading, she would stamp that they were reading their book and being quiet and that sort of thing. So we combined those two ideas, and the kids would have their tracking tools as a bookmark inside their book, and it made things a whole lot easier. And she would collect them maybe once every couple months. You know, it's supposed to be low key and low pressure, but still kind of hold them accountable a bit. And then again, like I created, you can see this one's a page tracker, ended up being the most popular one, where they just want to write down how many pages they read that day. And that's all the pressure we were putting on them, is to kind of track their progress. But other kids did different things. We even had one called a DIY. So if a kid had their own personal goal that we didn't lay out on the menu, they could create their own and create their own tracking tool. And again, they were all color coded, brightly colored paper, so they could keep up with them. So we did a checkpoint in October. We did another checkpoint in December, and we decided to turn the December checkpoint into kind of a celebration, because again, my overall objective, my goal was to kind of get these kids excited about reading again, or at least get them to the point where they don't hate it. So we did a reflection activity, and she kind of she created this particular reflection and included some, as you can see, like data analysis. And so she had the kids take pictures of their tracking tool and kind of really reflect, looking at the data that you've taken, that you've tracked, you know, how do you think you've done? And asked a couple different things. So when they came in December, they started with this. We got 20 minutes of reflection and filling this out. And then we kind of just played a little bit, you know, the idea of being in the library, celebrating books, hopefully making it associated to just something fun, is what we were trying to do. So they did do some playing, but they also did, you know, they swapped out their books, checked out new books for the holiday break. We reflected on what a new reading goal might be for the new year and that sort of thing. They even did my favorite, these awkward family photos, which I thought were hilarious. And she dressed up as the rabbit from Christmas Story and handed out notes that her freshman team teachers had written all the kids' notes about how they were proud of them, and she handed them out. So again, just trying to attach reading again to a positive feeling, you know. And then, you know, the winter, we were going in and out with like sicknesses, and you know, the winter was kind of the winter. So we were independent reading the whole time, but we finally kind of finished the project in April. We're actually about to move into a brand new building. So just Tates Creek High School is done with school May 13th. We're all panicking. We have to box up everything and move it. So we had to cut this done. So here were our final results. And on my scale of 1 to 10, I did ask this question through all the checkpoints, August, October, April. Well, we clearly didn't move any mountains here, but we moved a needle, and I think we set a foundation. And one of the things that made me really happy was that over 60% of the kids said they felt that they had reached at least one reading goal this year, and that made me happy. And then I think my favorite part of this is the fact that even though, you know, my reading goal averages didn't move a whole lot, as soon as we got done with that introduction piece in the classroom, you know, those first few days of teaching, tons of those kids are now in the library every morning. So they got to know me, they got to feel comfortable in that space. They are freshmen. I will get to have them now for the next 3 years. And I think we got a ball rolling, and I'm happy with that. I know I'm up on my time a little bit. So here's just a few comments from some of the kids. And I think there's a good chunk of them that really did enjoy, even though they say they didn't like reading, more of them said they liked having time to read in class. So it's something. And here's kind of our goals for next year. We're going to increase our reading time, get the math teacher involved with some of that data collection idea, because they also do their reading assessment tests, you know, periodically throughout the year, and kind of combine all their tool trackers and their reading data and kind of get the math teacher involved. I have been doing book delivery all year, where the kids can order a book through the catalog and I deliver it to their classroom. She asked that I kind of put together like a bookmobile concept and bring just a cart of books down there, so that they're not taking giant chunks of class time to come down to the library, and we can do it more smoothly where kids can read and other kids can still be checking out books pretty seamlessly. And then increase our opportunities for the kids to talk to each other about books. That's where we're headed. And that's it.
Awesome. Thank you, Ms. Prawl. I was taking a lot of notes. This was really cool. Thank you.
Well,
for
thank you
sharing that
very
with
much.
us.
Appreciate it.
All right, we'll transition to Ms. Douglas.
Share my screen. Hello, everyone. My name is Keyshawn Douglas, and I currently work at the Audrey Grievance Center. Let me click present. So before I get started, can everybody, what happened? Sorry, I thought I hit present. Okay, there we go. Can everyone hear me?
We can hear you and we can see the presentation.
Oh, okay, good. All right, so I'm going to give you a little background on the Audrey Grievance Center before I get started. It is an alternative program, and we have students just in one classroom. You can have 8th all the way up to 12th grade. A lot of the students are court ordered to be there. We have a few that are voluntary, but majority of them really didn't have a say of whether or not they came to the school. So that's kind of important in later on in the presentation. So I'm going to talk about how to engage non-engaged students in reading. All right, so my rationale behind this project was the average score, of course, on our AGS reading test was around a 6.5. Over 85% of the students were at least 2 to 3 grade levels below their peers. And then as a staff, we all identified that reading fluency was a critical need. Now, this one part is very important because I went around and interviewed a lot of the staff that had been there for a long time, and they could not remember a librarian being there since 2009. When we talked about that, because I told them that when I first came there full time, I thought the library was actually an office for the Urban County government side. And so it's what a lot of students also felt. So a student created survey found that most of the students felt that the library was outdated and detached from the school. And that goes along with that being a part of the Urban County side and not the school side, because it's like at the other end of the hallway. So before I started my project and talking to the kids about it, I found some of the strategies in the reading strategies book that I thought were very important. When we first started, I sat down with the kids and asked them, like, what is the best times and the worst times we kind of experience that you had with reading? I told them I wanted them to think back to their positive or, you know, when reading was hard or boring, and I wanted them to talk about it. Because I told them that my ultimate goal was to make the students feel like they have a reading life that matters. I also used, wanted to focus on getting different types of text, just because I know the students some of them were struggling to read, some of them hadn't even been in the school for like 2 to 3 years. And then I wanted to get them excited about it so that way they would talk to their other peers about it. So I had a few objectives for this project, and one was to engage students in reading by creating an in-class book station. Another objective was to enhance student interest in reading by exposing them to a variety of different books. And then students, I wanted them to have a voice in it. I wanted them to pick out the book, what went on the book station, which books, what type of books, and where the location would be. And then, of course, my last objective was to engage non-readers by enhancing student interest in reading by exposing them to regular visits to the library. So I sat down with each group and we discussed different questions, and I let the kids pick the questions. I let them write the questions, type it out. They ended up having a really good time doing that. So I'm just going to talk about some of the questions that they put on the survey. They asked the kids what kind of books would they like to see in the library. They asked the kids where was the library located. Would having access to electronic books encourage them to read more? And the most importantly, would you check out more books if we had an in-class book station? And how many books have you checked out from the AGC library? And so the next one is a lot of the responses that the students had. And I found the most important response to be to the question of how many books have you checked out? And a lot of the kids was like none, zero. And do we even have a library here? That was one of the answers that we found over and over again. Just some of the responses. They want the type of books they wanted was horror, romance, sports, and comedy. And they also asked for several books about juveniles facing traumatic experiences and challenge and how they overcame those challenges. So I thought that was very interesting. 2 was I don't know, and I did not know we even had a library. And yes, it would encourage me to read more. And then a lot of the kids asked, what is a book station? Which the kids actually came up with that title. I'll let them pick everything. So this was our book station. The kids designed the board. They selected the bookshelf. They carried the bookshelves in there. They stocked the books. They ordered the books. And I let them select all different types of genres. They worked together to shelve the books, and they done that for every class. We also, based off the survey, we also came to agreements with all the other teachers that they would take the students to the library on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then we also came up with a checkout process. We wanted to come, they agreed upon a standard form to check out the books from the library and from the in-class book station. And the students designed the labels for each categories of books that was in the library. So the outcomes was more students asked to read and check out books throughout the day. And the amount of books read or checked out went from 0 to 1 or 2 books per week. I had students asking me for books every day, which was great. And then the students were able to identify where the library was located. We actually went down there. We looked around, the kids organized it and everything, and they felt like that they owned the library. So that was good, that it wasn't just a part of the urban county government side. And also the students told me that they felt that their opinions on what to read mattered. There were several accomplishments that came out of this besides the kids reading, and a lot of the kids, I didn't put that on here, but a lot of them have asked me now, because I teach math, if they could, at the beginning of class now, can we read for 5 minutes each day? And I was very happy about that. So the Audrey Grievance Center, a lot of the staff there came in while we were doing the project, and they wanted to be a part of it. So now they offer books as a part of the behavior management reward. And now they offer incentives in the, based off of what they read, how many books or pages read, they're going to do a drawing for them each month to be able to have gift cards to wherever they want to go. We ended up getting resources from KEXAC. We have a subscription to the Scholastic Math magazine, both online and print version, and Fayette County provided us with access to the SOAR online app. And they also offered PD to teachers who wanted to implement that in their classroom. And that's it.
Awesome.
Sorry if I went too fast.
Oh, no, that was perfect. Truthfully, both presentations were phenomenal. Thank you all so much for sharing those with us. I learned so much. Like just listening to all these, I'm so impressed with what's going around our state and well, in Fayette County with both of you all. Super cool. Thank you all. So we'll open it up to questions. You're welcome to either unmute if you want to, or I don't care to read your question too if you send it in the chat. If you don't care to either direct it to one or the other, or both, if that's what you're preferring. So, oh, someone has raised their hand.
Are there any questions?
Selena.
Hi.
Did I do that okay? Or
Yes, that's correct. Can you hear me?
cool? Yeah, you're good.
Okay, perfect. First, I want to say commendable work to both of you. I felt very inspired in watching both of your presentations, and considering right now how libraries are, librarians and libraries and reading in general is under attack. I think is very timely work that you all are doing. I just have a quick question about the possibility of maybe doing book clubs. Is there time or space during the day to maybe, I don't know how difficult it is to schedule that too, but you think there might be some curiosity as a result of both of your efforts to maybe start a small reading or book club?
We actually, that's one of our goals for next school year, is to start the book club.
And I do an after school book club. You know, transportation can sometimes be an issue. But I have gotten, you know, a handful of kids from every grade. And if we ever go to a flex block schedule, there's a potential maybe one day to do it during school. We've tried it during lunches before, and that can get a little hectic, but we do have one. We'll keep building that.
Cool. And then Shayna, and I guess this is for Miss Douglas, asked, can you tell me a little bit more about what Sora is, S-O-R-A?
Well, it was the online, basically library that has a lot of audio books for them to listen to. And the kids really enjoyed that, especially the ones that didn't want to read, you know, the hardback books and checkout books from the library, which is a small few.
Cool, thank you. Other questions or follow-ups? Oh, another hand. Tom.
Hi, I just wanted to follow up with both of you. My kids right now are reading a YA novel. We're kind of finishing out the year with a Chris Crutcher novel called Whale Talk. We're in our first week of reading it. I have sophomores, and I'm pushing for independent reading just because it's that time is the end of the year. And what I'm seeing after the first week of reading is a lot of independent reading. We're doing reading sprints, like I'm literally putting a timer up. We're going to read for 5 minutes. After my first week, we hit our reading quiz and 65 class average. So I'm wondering, you know, is it too late in the year to start? Where did you guys see success with assessment in terms of, you know, yes, obviously I want to encourage independent reading. I want to encourage kids to pick up the book, read on their own, take notes on their own. But, you know, my payoff is not there in terms of, like, you know, showing my work, to use a math term, right? Like, so I'm just wondering, you know, where you guys are seeing success in terms of the assessment side of things.
Well, you saw my needle move like about this much. Like,
Yeah.
this has to be a marathon and not a sprint. And like, I'm going to go crazy if I don't approach it from the fact that we're just building this back in piece by piece. We've been spending years tearing it down. We may not see grand gestures on assessments right now, but if we can get a couple kids to say, hey, that's a book I didn't hate. Like, we're at that point, you know? And if you can get a kid to finish the book, more kids finished the book this year than did last year, or actually said they enjoyed it. I mean, I feel like that's the kind of world we're in right now. They haven't read a book in 2 years. Many adults haven't read a book in 2 years. I'm reading a lot less than I should, you know? I know that data drives the world in education, but they're also humans, you know, and just trying to get them to like reading that's where we're at. I don't know. Trying to move those numbers is very, very challenging. And I get it. I don't have a grand answer for you. I really don't.
Awesome. Cool question. Any other questions, comments?
Having discussions around.
I forget after teaching virtually last year that the wait time on Zoom, I try to give it enough, right? Alrighty.
Yes, Jessica.
Well, I'm not seeing any. If you want to hang around and ask a question, you're welcome. If you don't want to ask in front of the whole group, other than that, I guess I'll see you in other sessions throughout the day. Thank you all. And thank you both to you all. You all did great. They were awesome presentations.
Thank you.
Both of you all, have you all read any of Donalyn Miller's work?
Mhm.
She's going to be speaking at the Kentucky Reading Association conference this year. But like, she is like whenever I hear independent reading, she is my go-to person, right?
Yeah, that's the book whisperer, right? Yeah.
Yes, the book whisperer, Reading in the Wild, and she just has a new one called Game Changer that just came out like last year or something. But yeah, she's phenomenal and like really changed my mind on how that should look. Super cool.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Well, I don't have anything else. So I guess if there's no other questions, thank you all. I'm going to end the session and I will see you all around.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, it was fun. Thank you all.
Bye.